I'm sure you've heard some of the rumors circulating around the hallways about how we're going to be doing a house cleaning with some of the software people.
Well, Bob, I have heard that, and you got to do what you got to do.
We're going to be getting rid of these people here. First, Mr. Summy.
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Office Space, but if your office is anything like that, I got to say, you probably have a little bit of a dysfunctional office. And, you know, we can laugh at movies, you know, of course, like Office Space, but it sure isn't funny when you're the one in the situation yourself. It can be very stressful. So how do you deal with a dysfunctional office? Well, this is why Michael Hayes of Momentum Specialized Staffing is joining us to help us kind of decipher how do we stay out of the drama, right, Michael?
Yes, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. So the question that I have for you is, what about if you have a dysfunctional office where, you know, let's say you have 50 workers and they're just weird and there's drama and there's always some crisis going on and there's a lot of gossiping and all that kind of stuff. So how can you stay clear of that and focus on your job?
Well, basically, I think what you need to do is come up with like a roster of some of the characters you have in your office. You're always going to have like the brown noser.
Right.
You're always going to have the tattletale. And then the worst person in there is what I call the office mole. That's the person that you don't really know anything about. They kind of keep to themselves. They keep track of everything.
So maybe people should get like little Pez characters,
right.
and I'm just kidding.
Just like if you're doing a football team, you've got your positions,
right.
and you're always going to have 3 or 4 of those people.
Okay, so once you know the characteristics of the people that you're surrounded with, how do you deal with that?
Well, one of the main things I've told people during interviews is stay away from the lunchroom. That's one of the most dangerous places in the office because people think it's like some soundproof booth that they can just wander into and just spill everything they want. And what happens is you're sitting in there and I'm talking to you and somebody walks by and I say something derogatory and they go, wow, she must think that too. She's in there listening to it.
Yes, and also listen, you can be characterized just by association.
Right.
You know?
Precise.
So how do you stay away from that? How do you just, you know, kind of get a reputation of somebody who's considered a good worker and does their job without everybody not liking you?
I think do a lot of listening and not a lot of talking.
Okay.
I mean, don't agree with people because that's one thing that the tattletale will look for is say something out of the ordinary and then you go, I think so. And then they go, hey, she thinks this.
Ooh, I've got to tell you something. I do not like tattletalers at all. No way.
There's plenty of them.
Okay, so with the dysfunctionalness in the office, what are some other things that we can avoid or some knowledge that people can walk away from knowing that maybe we can all think about it? Because there's dysfunctionalness in every office, just like there is in every family.
The one thing I see a lot of is the reactions to emails. You know, like people like to email somebody that's like 20 feet away rather than talk to them.
Okay.
So remember, if you're responding to emails, you got to be careful on how you word things because one email means one thing to another person. And you can take it from me, you can get in some serious trouble by doing that.
Right, and there's also record keeping there too with emails.
Right, and it's everywhere. I mean, it can get forwarded to people. It could go corporate wide, you know, out of your office to where somebody back east or something's calling in going, hey, look what somebody's saying.
Okay. What about one other thing, which is a huge thing, gossiping? You know, that brings to some dysfunctionalness. Gossiping is a really toxic thing.
A lot of times you have to stop people and just say, hey, you know, that's really interesting. Let's go for a cocktail later this week. I have to do this project. And if you do that enough, pretty soon I think people kind of get the hint that you're not interested in doing that type of thing.
Okay, that's some great advice there.
Yeah.
So don't get involved in gossiping, and therefore you can avoid getting involved in the drama too, right?
Especially if you're new. If you're a new person, the last thing you want to do is get in with the crowd that's got the big target on their back for staff reduction. Because they're going to say, well, you know, we thought she was different.
Right,
he was
exactly.
different.
Michael, some great advice. Thank you for joining us. But really quick, you know, on our Facebook, our Smart Family 15 Facebook page, we had asked our viewers, do you have or have you ever worked in a dysfunctional office environment, and how do you cope with it? Well, Beth Wilson says, yes, solution, quit and find a job with a better environment. What do you think about that one, that comment?
I think it's very tough right now. What I would do is make sure my resume is up to date. If you're at a place you can't deal with, start working to move your way out.
Okay, great. Thank thanks, Michael. Thanks for joining us, and you know you can always join in on the conversation. Connie?